rehearse some of the typical questions and answers so that you have a good sense of what to expect and you feel well prepared and confident before you go on that job interview. So all of that would be appropriate to work with us on. Now you should expect we're not going to do all of those things in one 30-minute meeting. Right? That's a lot to accomplish. So this is something that we're building a relationship with you, and you should plan that if you're interested in pursuing some sort of work experience, that you'll be meeting with us several times. First, getting the documents ready, then thinking about how do I find employers, applying for jobs, interviews, etc. Once you find that position, we would encourage you to come back and chat with us before you start work, so we can talk to you about how to be successful at that job, how to get the most out of that experience, what to do if you have questions once you've started your job, so we can make sure you're prepared before you actually show up for work. So I mentioned here that we have a resume cover letter review service, and that's something that we would do typically in the context of a meeting with a counselor, where we'd sit down side by side, go through the documents. We might find after working together several times that we might transition that process to email. Now that we both understand each other and you understand what's supposed to happen, and now the edits are a little bit more technical in nature, that it might be easier for you to simply email the document to us when you give you feedback and send it back. But initially, we want to meet with you face-to-face and really get to understand your background and your credentials and how can we present them effectively. And we have a wonderful resource that we call LCS Online. You may have heard LCS Online. That is our online presence, and that is where we post all of our job opportunities. So we hear from employers every day who say we want to hire a Golden Gate student for a job or for an internship, and we take all of those announcements and we post them on LCS Online. I suspect most of you do not yet have accounts for that system, and so there's a sign-in sheet over there on that clipboard. And before you leave today, if you'd like to set up an account, simply sign in, give us your name, your student ID number, and your email address. We will set up an account for you, and then we'll email you with your account information. Once you get that information, you can log into the system, and you can take a look and see what kind of employers are looking to hire Golden Gate students. With LLM students, we have to be a little strategic, because not every employer will say, I would like to hire an LLM student. They may not know what an LLM student is. They may not know we have that program. They may not know much about it. It could be when they went to law school, there weren't LLM students. It was purely a JD program. And so they may come to us saying, we want to find a JD student. So we have to be a little strategic in how you look at the job listings, and so you might want to be a little bit more open and not only search for jobs where employers specifically are recruiting LLMs. You might consider looking at jobs where they are also recruiting JDs, but recognize that puts a little bit added burden on you to explain how the training you're getting here and how the experience you have might put you on par with a JD student, and sort of outline for them the credentials that you're bringing, since they might be familiar. But that's fine. The only time, if they say only JD students are eligible, well, then I wouldn't apply for those. But if they're silent about it, then you might take some liberties and apply for things where they haven't specifically limited the pool of applicants to JD students. In addition to the job listings on LCS Online, we have lots of resources, lots of handouts. So we have documents, little how-to guides on how to prepare resumes, cover letters, how to prepare for an interview, how to prepare for an informational interview, how to do networking, how to, all kinds of, all the different activities that students have to do to build a professional network and find jobs. We have handouts in the resource library on LCS Online. And we have documents that list all the different bar associations in the area that you might want to take a look at that. There's lots of helpful information there. So in addition to the job listings, I do encourage you to look at the resource library. You can also look through our employer database. And these are simply employers that we have had contact with at some point in time. I think there are maybe 6,000 employers, would you say, Oscar, in the database? But something like that. But some of these folks we haven't had contact with in years. Others we have contact with on a regular basis. These are just employers who at some point in time we connected with. But that may give you some ideas. If you search that, you won't necessarily know that that employer is hiring today. maybe it's an organization you'd like to learn more about and reach out to them to see if there's a possibility that they have something. We also have evaluations from other law students who have done internships. And you can take a look and see where they worked and what did they say about that opportunity. And that's a kind of a good clue. My assumption is if that organization has had a pattern of hiring law students in the past, then they are more likely to hire law students in the future. And so you might say, oh, this organization, students seem to really enjoy it. I like what they're telling me about this organization. Maybe you reach out to that organization to see if they have an internship for the spring, even if they didn't specifically solicit applications from students. So those are some of the strategies we might talk about when you come to we invite you to come to all of the programs that we do, and we have lots of resources and information. The primary ways that we use to communicate with students are through law school news, and so we'll put announcements in there about different events and different deadlines, so make sure you're reading that. We also have an email called, actually I don't know if the email goes out to everybody, so I'll put that aside for now, but we have a blog, and I encourage you to read our blog. That's where we put a lot of advice and information and things we're seeing, trends we're seeing in the marketplace, and that's a really good resource for you. Of course, I neglected, oh no, the blog is at the, no, it's not on here. It's, it's ggulcs.blogspot.com, and you can get to it if you go to LCS Online. There will be a link there to direct you to the blog, and I encourage you to read that on a regular basis. We're always posting new information, new resources, new links to things, and it's a good way for you to get a better sense of what's happening with the legal employment market. Okay, so I've talked some about the mechanics of finding a position, but it's really important to develop a sense of focus. I mean, there are thousands of employers here in the Bay Area. You can't possibly write to all of them, and even if you did, your materials won't be very effective if they're not speaking directly to the organization. Legal employers really want to understand why you want to work for them and what your connection is with them. So it's really important that you develop a sense of focus and a sense of what you are looking for. And so for some of you, you already have that. You know exactly what you want to do. You were very clear about that before you came to the program. Other students might have a more general sense of what they want to do, and they might not yet have articulated the specific area of law, their specific jobs that they're interested in. So it's important to do some research and to do some investigation to find out what would be a good fit. So I encourage you to talk with your faculty members. They're often a good first step in that process, and to talk about the different areas of law, the different kinds of employers, and what might be a good fit for you based on what you do know about yourself in terms of your strengths and your interests. And so they might help refine that a little bit. We do presentations where we bring attorneys to campus to talk about their careers. I encourage you to come to those. We'll post those in Law School News. And it's a great way to hear from lawyers and hear what they have to say, and maybe learn about something you didn't know much about prior to coming. We also record those sessions, like we're recording this one today. So if you realize, oh, there was that session back in September and I missed it, take a look on our YouTube channel, and you could then watch a recording of the presentation that we did. We also have a terrific book called The Official Guide to Legal Specialties, and that profiles 30 of the most popular practice areas, so litigation and intellectual property and criminal law and environmental law, and all of those different areas. And it tells you how law is practiced here in those disciplines, what it is that lawyers do, what do they find enjoyable about their work, what are some of the considerations you might want to have if you plan to pursue work in that area, what courses should you be taking, things like that. So that's a really helpful orientation if you're not quite sure where you fit in. I would encourage you to borrow that book from us, and you can check that out from our resource library. We have other resources you can look at as well, but that's usually the first book people use, and then from there, once we develop more of a focus, we can recommend other resources to you. We also have some handouts that profile different practice areas. And then another strategy that we recommend is for you to reach out to attorneys and do what we would call an informational interview. This is where you reach out to an attorney and you just say, hi, attorney, you do work that seems really interesting to me. Can I interview you and learn a little bit more about what you're doing? I'm not asking you for a job. I simply want to learn more about your work and see if you have any advice for me. And that's essentially, we would coach you more on how to set it up, but that is the approach you would take, and hopefully find someone to sit down and chat with you, maybe over a cup of coffee. And you ask them questions, and it's really meant to teach you about what they're doing and get some ideas, get some suggestions, and they might take an interest in you and your background, and it's just a nice way to meet people, and you might hear about job opportunities that way. Or they may say, oh, I have a colleague who would be very interested in meeting with you. He or she has clients who have business in your home country, and maybe there would be some interest in chatting with you. And so it's through those personal connections that you often hear about opportunities. So that's something we would encourage you to do, and something we will coach you on when you meet with us one-on-one, but I did want to at least get the idea of informational interviews out there. Golden Gate alumni are interested in chatting with you. I think especially the alumni of the LLM programs are very interested in being a resource to you. I think all of our alumni would be. We have an alumni directory, and when you come in and meet with us, we can show you how to use the directory. So, to begin, kind of first steps might be to come by the office. We can give you a little tour, show you the resources, show you some of the handouts and some of the books if you want to check those out. I would encourage you to grab the resources we have about writing resumes and writing cover letters. And then I would encourage you to sit down and update your documents and do your best to try to take whatever you have and to sort of translate it into the style that we're suggesting for you. For most LLM students, we encourage that you meet first with Margaret Arnold, and she'll take a quick first look. And we recommend that because she's a little bit more familiar with the credentials in your home country than we are, and maybe can help translate a little bit. How do you present your credentials to something that might be a little bit more recognizable to U.S. audiences? And then once Margaret has said, okay, I think I've done everything I can do here, and then it'll be time for you to come in and meet with one of us. And so you would call LCS, make an appointment, bring in your materials, and we would start the process of working with you then. We certainly want to talk to John and understand the whole curricular practical training and optional practical training, sort of how your visa, if you're on a visa, how that plays into this. That's an area where we defer to John. He has all the expertise with regards to the immigration and visa issues, but you do want to make sure you understand that. We don't want to do anything that would jeopardize your status here, so it's really important that you understand that. We should also recognize that employers, unless they happen to be immigration lawyers, know very little about that, and they may be initially skeptical. Oh, there's someone, I don't know, will I have to jump through a lot of hoops to take on an international student? So the more you can explain to them, no, it's simple, it's this program, you don't have to do anything extra, or whatever it is, the more likely they are to consider you as a serious candidate. So work with John closely, understand the rules and the procedures so that you can explain that to the employers. So that's kind of the general overview. There is one program in particular that I wanted to bring to your attention. It's on the sort of remaining pages of your handout. For the past 4 or 5 years, UCLA Law School has coordinated a job fair specifically for international LLM students. It's called the West Coast International LLM Job Fair. And this year is scheduled for Friday, February 24th, and it will be held at the University of California at Los Angeles on their campus. We participate in this event every year. You all are eligible to participate in this program. And this is typically for paid but not all paid and unpaid jobs for this coming summer. And some of them are permanent positions. We find there are a lot of large law firms who are recruiting attorneys to go back to the home office. So if you're from wherever you're from, if that firm has a presence there and you're licensed to work there, they often use this as a way to recruit international students to then go back to work in their offices elsewhere. Sometimes it's to work here. So each employer has a different interest. There are big firms, there are some companies, there are some government agencies, some nonprofit organizations. It really is a mixture of employers who participate. It has a very specific timeline. And because they're dealing with students on campuses all over the United States, the process to apply for these is handled